matchup here. It's something we haven't seen much of. Again, it's going to be Miraidon EX against the Dragonite. It's a Lost Box, Turbo Lost Box. It's interesting. What do you think, Ethan?
Yeah, I mean, what more can we say? It's the same 60 cards here that Grant Manley just played with. Of course, it's going to be a lot closer of a matchup than what we saw before. Sam is playing this Miraidon EX, but paired with a few Pokemon we haven't seen hit the spotlight yet. Mainly, my eye is out on that Magnezone V-Star. A super powerful attack there, that Electro Star dealing 90 damage to 2 bench Pokemon. Something you've got to keep your eye out for sure. Let's take a look at the prize cards. See if there's any super key cards. Azul does have 3 out of those 8 switching cards in the prize cards. Of course, you need those to utilize your utilize the flower selecting ability on Comfey. Definitely don't like to see them there, but nothing too detrimental besides that.
That's true. At least he's not facing up against Klefki or anything, right? But yeah, nothing too detrimental there for the Miraidon player. The electromagnetic generator. Again, you always want all of those in the deck. That is the main way you accelerate energy in the first couple of turns before, of course, you get your Flaffies in play. But I think the goal of the game is to really put on the pressure, accelerate energy, take some prizes early. But looks like we're going to start us off. Looks like Azul is starting out with the Radiant Greninja.
And those were a perfect 2 cards. Azul had like pretty much nothing going on in this hand, but found Battle Pass Comfey off those 2 cards from concealed cards. And while there's no way to pivot in, you can at least get some basic Pokemon into play. Get ready to go next turn. Not going to be able to attack this turn, of course, because you are going first. So big find there for Azul. Going to keep him very well positioned in this game. You see, even getting Dragonite potentially just for the soul power, of maybe even utilizing this Forest Seal Stone to grab a switching card or an energy to really value starting to get these cards in the Lost Zone.
That is true. Again, if you don't have anything to work with, might as well find anything you want from your deck. Again, Forest Seal Stone, absolutely powerful card. And, you know, getting that Battle VIP pass you mentioned earlier, absolutely huge. The most powerful trainer card in the game, but only for 1 turn. Again, looks like it is going to be the Dragonite V and the Comfey. Something even though the Dragonite V does have 230 HP, so it should be safe for a turn. You know, Miraidon does cap out at 220.
You never know if you're going to see Beach Court and then an electromagnetic generator and then or electricity generator, boss's orders, take a knockout. It could come out of nowhere, but
oh, and just play 1 Zapdos from Pokemon Go. Hit the 230. There we go.
Sure, yeah, there you go. You got all the math together, but it really just showcases here. Azul does not have a lot else going on in this hand.
Does he have a Colress for the next turn?
There's nothing for the next turn. I think the question is, do you get aggressive this turn? Do you play this down and just find the switching card and start flower selecting? Or do you hold on to this and then utilize it to grab Colress? I think you could honestly, in this matchup, just go and grab Colress next turn. Putting it down here is pretty much safe. You know a lot of these lists aren't playing things like Lost Vacuum to remove the tool card, but it is just going to be utilizing the Forest Seal Stone right now, grabbing a piece out of the deck, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be a switching card. Otherwise, it really just doesn't make sense to grab Colress this early when you can't play it.
That is true. Yeah, definitely want the switching card there, because that could, that could start a Comfey train going. You could grab a switch card, potentially flower selecting into another switch card, get into another Comfey. You definitely want cards in the Lost Zone, because that's the name of the deck, right? If we don't get cards in the Lost Zone, we can't use our attacks like the Spit Innocently or the Lost Mine. But I didn't quite see what he decided to grab. No, it was the switch card. Drops another Comfey there. Plays the switch card. Here we go. First,
we have big 2 cards here, a flower selecting. Looking for another way to pivot.
Oh, well, he wanted a Colress probably. Gave him 2.
Right? And yeah, it's never great to have to put that away into the Lost Zone, but it's part of what you have to do. It's the trade-off you make. I did have 1 away, or actually 0 away in the prize cards, so pretty good start right away, but this is the Miraidon EX deck. Tandem Unit can be utilized to find these lightning Pokemon, put them onto the bench. I think I saw a second Miraidon in this hand as well, so if Sam wants to, can fill the bench up to 5 that quickly, and this is why Miraidon is such a powerful deck. You can commit so many more of your deck slots to playing cards like Electricity Generators, Energy cards, some of these supporter cards, because you don't need to play a bunch of Nest Ball, a bunch of Ultra Ball to get Pokemon out when Tandem Unit just does it for you.
That's true. We talked about how powerful Battle VIP Pass is, so how about that in an ability? That's not once per turn, because he can grab another Miraidon there to Tandem Unit once again. Grabbing a Raikou as well, a very easy Pokemon to power up, as well as the fleet-footed ability. But there it is, grabbing our support Pokemon in the Mareep and the Magnezone V. Tell us a bit about this card, Ethan.
So Flaffy's great. Dynamotor ability, we've seen it back in the Black and White era, electric. So lets you get lightning energy out of your discard pile, put them onto your benched Pokemon. Following it up with Arven as well. And then, of course, the Magnezone V-Star, having that super powerful attack, doing 90 damage to 2 Pokemon. That's great at taking 2 prizes on some of these weaker Pokemon in play, like the Comfey. If there's a Cramorant or Greninja in the active spot, it can take knockouts on those too, since they're weak to Lightning. Electro-Star, super powerful. But here we see Arven. Perfect card in this deck, can grab out tried and true bread and butter, electricity generator, Forest Seal Stone, get some energy to play. And Sam is really trying to look to get this knockout. This turn gets pretty much another free card to search out with this Forest Seal Stone. Place on the Raikou V. Really just looking to find some energy cards here to put together some knockouts on this first turn.
Importantly, though, if you use a Forest Seal Stone this turn, that means you don't have access to the Electro Star V-Star power attack, which is really good, especially if you want to, against Lost Box, right? You want to take multiple prizes, but I think it's more important to start taking knockouts for sure. We're going to see here Electro Generator. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Find any lightning energy there.
And
you can attach up to 2, but nothing.
There's absolutely nothing.
That's okay. We have a second one.
This is the issue. You're only running 13 lightning energy in your deck. I think on average you're maybe expecting to hit 1 energy off of your electricity generators. If you play 4 and get 4 energy into play, sure, but you're going to run into situations like this where your deck is just not feeding you the energy cards you need. Does still have the attachment for turn, has the pivot as well.
Yeah.
So this is actually a pretty interesting situation. If that first generator hits, you can kind of play this hand out differently. Here we go. 5 more cards.
Absolutely
no
nothing
energy.
Here.
Wow, that's so unfortunate for Sam. Sam only had 1 in the prize cards
I believe the V-Star power was just used here. Star Alchemy gets to grab any 1 card from the deck.
The third one?
Third one could possibly be. We know the 4th one is prize. You got to do what you got to do. You take a knockout here when you can.
Watch it. They tell me the 3rd tries the charm. Do you believe in it? Do you think he's going to hit? He's got to hit 2 energy off of this here.
No,
he
deserves 2 energy at this point. There it is, the 3rd electric generator.
And if you're Azul here, you feel so comfortable and confident at this point. You've got Colress for the next turn. You know you never have to worry about your opponent getting ahead in the prize race by taking multiple prizes with Magnezone V-Star, since that's off the plate. So let's look here, Wancho. Just 5 cards. Oh, you're kidding me.
Just one.
There's no way.
There it is.
There's a single energy card here, and it does have the attachment for turn, but
he does have the escape rope as well.
This is actually a really interesting tell here from Azul. I think if your opponent plays escape rope at this point, the question is, do you let Dragonite get hit at all, or do you just put a Comfey? I feel like you're so ahead in this position that you can just afford to give your opponent Comfey. You do have 1 prize, so it can be a little bit inconvenienced for you, but I think that's really what Azul is going to decide. What can I afford to give up? Do I want to give up my 1 copy of Cramorant? Do I want to give up this Dragonite? Rather let this Dragonite get hit and take damage, but if you know your opponent may not play a card like Zapdos to boost the damage up, this might be your best bet. Just let your opponent take the prize card and start firing back next turn.
All right, we did see the fleet-footed ability just to draw 1 card and attachment into the Lightning Rondo for the first knockout of the game. Azul Garcia-Griego starts us off with a Chorus Experiment. Let's see what they find. A couple of awkward cards.
It's tough.
At this point, you know, this doesn't surprise me anymore in the Lost Boxes. It just always hurts sometimes.
You're playing a lot of cards that you want to keep, so you're going to run into these awkward situations. And that's sort of why they've adjusted to playing 4 copies of Energy Recycler, because you get into so many positions where you just want to keep these multiples. So you give yourself a little bit more flexibility to Lost Zone some of these Energy Recyclers and keep them on. And this is a card, this is a matchup rather, where Kyogre really excels. Speaking of which, we didn't even talk about this hitting the field. Manaphy is here, and that is a card we do not see Miraidon a lot. Able to block bench damage with that wave availability. Could come in clutch now, but I really don't know if I like Sam playing it down this early. Azul's got 4 or 5 turns here to just utilize Lost Mine down the line to take this knockout, and Sam isn't playing any way to bring back Pokemon from the discard pile.
That is true. Maybe Sam just thinking here, they really fearing a potential Moonlight Shuriken, possibly on Azul's side of the board. Right now he has 4, I believe it's 4 cards in the Lost Zone?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it should be
double flower selecting there, plus the Colress's Experiment. There we go. Spit Innocently, 110 damage onto this Raikou V. We'll see exactly how Sam can respond to this. Now, Switch Cart is a card that's very powerful in this deck, and of course, pivoting in and out. You want to utilize the Dynamotor ability for your bench Pokemon, then bring them up, but it also heals the damage off a little bit.
Yeah.
Can be very relevant. Of course, you can heal 30 damage off of this, and then you take yourself out of Spit Innocently range, but
Spit Innocently and
playing
the
one,
Lost Mine.
It's not quite Lost Mine, because you'll put yourself down to 80, so you'll still get knocked out by a fully damaged Lost Mine.
Oh, that's true. You're right. I forget that Raikou only has 200 HP, a little bit of the low on the lower end.
It's so interesting, because all the different ones have different HPs. Like Entei has 230 HP for some reason. It's just like a little bit bigger. But as we said, Switch Cart coming down. Now, We did see the attachment onto the Miraidon. This is pretty much signaling that we're going to see this manual retreat potentially if there's nothing like a beach court. And it seems like Serena discarding the hand, draw 5. And these matchups where it's not acting as a gust, it's really not the best draw supporter. That, as a research, would be a lot better drawing more cards. And there is nothing to be found here. Not even finding the Dino Motor Flaffy to be able to put energy into play.
That
you
is
can
true.
retreat this Miraidon, bring this Raikou up, but after this turn, if the Raikou's knocked out, you're left with no energy in play and even on the prize trade.
Have we fleet-footed? We get one more card here.
It's a Trekking Shoes. All right, well, one more chance.
We need to get a Flaffy here. Discarding a Lightning Energy is not too bad, but I guess we draw another Lightning Energy. This is looking tough for Sam again.
It's very tough. The problem as well is Manaphy being down so early. The prize mapping for Azul, you don't even need to Kyogre in this position. You can knock out the Raikou this turn, Lost Mine over the course of 2 turns to knock out the Manaphy and the Flaffy, and then just take 2 more prize cards. It feels like this Manaphy, while in theory it's helping out, it could just be easy prizes for Azul down the line.
That's true. Concealed cards being played there. Looks like drew into a Chorus Experiment. Not too bad. That should bring them up to 6 cards into the Lost Zone, plus the Comfey should be up to 7. Could attack with Dragonite potentially, or even if they could try to get to 10, attacking with Sableye seems pretty good.
Yeah, so it has Lost Vacuum as well, so that is a potential. We have seen the Forest Seal Stone already be used, so that could be Lost Vacuumed away at any point during the game. And I think Azul realizes, if I can take this knockout onto this Raikou, even the prize trade up, there's easy prizes waiting, and more importantly, there's no threats over on Sam's side to re-deal with this. And luckily, getting 2 good cards to get rid of course, that Battle VIP Pass, can't play that, and Nestball is more than happy to join it in the Lost Zone.
That is true. Looks like grabbing. They do have the Celebrations Kyogre in hand here. I'm very curious how they're going to take this knockout. There's so many different ways for sure. I believe there's 8 cards now in the Lost, or
so
6.
The issue still is that Azul has a lot of these pivoting out options prized. So I think what Azul has to understand here is it worth it for me to go for this play where I attack even with something like Dragonite? I mean, your opponent's down 3 Electricity Generator. It's so unlikely that they're going to be able to even take a knockout on you. And I think this is just the choice here from Azul. Let me put myself into Mirage Gate range. I can play this Mirage Gate, pivot out of the active spot, attack with something like the Dragonite, and at least put some pressure on here. I know my opponent's down a lot of resources. It's going to be really hard for them to respond to me with a knockout. Seems to be what Azul's looking at right now.
If you think about it, even if Sam has everything they want to work with, they wouldn't have a knockout on Dragonite. They cap out at 220 damage, unless, of course, they attack with something like a Raichu, while Mirage Gate being played now. Looks like they have 3 in hand. They can accelerate all the energy they want here.
Yeah, so the problem right now for Azul, I think, in his head is he doesn't really know if there's a card like Zapdos in Sam's deck. It kind of looks a little bit unorthodox, playing things like Manaphy, and when you don't know how unpredictable your opponent can be in terms of deck building, it creates this sort of interesting scenario where you've got to play the risk-reward game in your head. Is it worth it for me to go in with Dragonite? I mean, pretty much with how this is looking right now, it's almost as if the Cramorant damage from last turn pretty much provided nothing, but still led to this situation at this point. Does at least get the energy on the Sableye as well, so that's set up for Lost Mine. Azul doesn't even need to play a Chorus anymore to get there. If he's just got the ability to pivot out 2 more times, utilize 2 more Flower Selecting, he'll be at 10. From there, it seems like cleanup work to be able to take these last couple of prizes.
That is true. Again, Sam is down. So, again, all his electric generators, doesn't have a Flaffy, and caps out at 220 damage. Things are looking rough for sure, but again, I'm trying to think of a way out here as we see Azul, again, has an energy on the Comfey. That means he can retreat to the Dragonite, has the energy attachment onto that Dragonite. Dragon's Gale incoming for sure.
It needs the Lightning Energy. It is in hand, though, so he does have that ability. Can still utilize Flower Selecting. Looking at the top 2, I think you really don't need to take this Hisuian Heavy Ball. I mean, the only thing that's prized is another Comfey, but is there ever a world where your opponent ever targets that down if you're never attacking with it for the rest of the game? Probably not. Echoing Horn is a great option to potentially take knockouts on these 1-prize Pokemon all over again if your opponent, for some reason, collapsed Stadium's one of their Pokemon away. And Azul was all in on the Sableye at this point. Dragonite can come into the active spot. Dragon Gale, 250 damage, knocking out Raikou V. And the big question in my mind is, how can Sam respond to this? He had some unfortunate luck earlier on with Electricity Generator. Can he at least attack into this and set math up? Otherwise, things are going to spiral out of control quickly.
For sure, something they could possibly do. No, they only play one Raikou V. They could go into something like the Raichu, potentially have one Dynamotor and have to discard 2 energy just to get an attack off.
Yeah, but at that point, it's just like Dragon Gale just takes another 2 prizes,
that's true.
And then how do you win the game from there?
Definitely playing from the back foot. I think this deck definitely wants to take a couple of prizes early since you have so much speed, right? You have so many ways to really accelerate those energies, take knockouts as soon as turn 1, but right now energy is definitely lacking, as we do see an energy attachment there. On to the Raichu. Do you have anything else? We have a research. We could go for big research here. Hail Mary of a research. Do we draw into a Flaffy at the very least?
You need to at least start to get some energy into play with Dynamotor, but from there, how do you take your last 2 prize cards? Let's see what it looks like. And I see that gold Flaffy when I know it. I know it when I see it. So I did find that. Finds the Magnezone V-Star as well. Has Beach Court. So and Azul actually taking a look at Magnezone V-Stars. This is a card I'm sure he's seen it once or twice, but that's definitely something to be aware of when you're going to the next game. Your opponent has used the V-Star power, but it's one of those things where you usually play against this Miraidon deck, and Manaphy's a card that you feel pretty comfortable throwing away in the Lost Zone. And ever since it feels like that card won the Champions League in Japan a few months back, people have sort of kept their Manaphys around in Lost Zones and not thrown it away to the Lost Zone right away.
Looks like just a Dynamotor there on to the Magnezone V-Star. Something of note, a Magnezone V-Star actually has 270 HP. That's something Dragonite can't knock out. It does cap out at 250, so big retreat here with the Beach Court, giving all basic Pokemon free retreat. Are we just giving up a Manaphy here?
I think at this point it really doesn't matter what you give up. Azul is very well positioned in this game. If Azul has a way to play something like Escape Rope this turn, or even just can retreat this Dragonite potentially with one of the pivoting cards, Lost Mine is a perfect attack to utilize. You've got 9 cards in the Lost Zone. You can utilize 1 more. Your opponent gifted you this Beach Court, so that's a free pivoting card that you have in this case.
You get to keep one of your energies, but
that's true.
I mean, that means you're just 1 Mirage Gate away from attacking once again with the Dragonite, but it looks like we do have the switch card at the very least. Going into the Comfey, 1 more flower selecting is going to bring Azul to that 10 threshold. That means everything in his deck is now activated here. And with the Beach Court, we're going to see some mining.
We're going mining here. We're going to look at get some damage counters into play. Of course, we are now at 10, and going to continue it. Found a switching card off of the last flower selecting. Just have the choice now. What do you want to get rid of? I believe the 2 options there are Pokestop and an energy card. I feel like you really don't need Pokestop at this point.
Maybe Azul here trying to go for the big Aqua Storm just to show off a little bit.
You know, it's not bad. You can at least remove the Manaphy out of play, but even with Lost Mine here, you can potentially just remove the Flaffy out of play. I feel like stopping the attack might even just be more beneficial. That Manaphy's always going to be there for you to just take a knockout at some point. So Azul's got plenty of ways to play this. I think as long as he's taking prize cards this turn with something like Sableye or utilizing the Dragonite to take multiple prizes, it's going to be the best bet. But since there is no boss's orders in this deck, Azul relying off Lost Mine to take these knockouts, push himself into a favorable position to win this game.
There we go. We see the retreat on to the Sableye. Again, Lost Mine. As long as we have 10 cards in the Lost Zone, we get to put 12 damage counters, something I'm sure all of us are familiar with at this point. So going to be a knockout there on the Manaphy, as well as setting up damage. This is going to be interesting. Looks like it's going to be on both Miraidons.
Yeah, so putting 20 damage on both of those there, the idea being that you need 4 energy off Aqua Storm to be able to take the knockout, so just a little bit less work. You've now got 3 Pokemon in play that have 200 HP, the Raichu, and then both of them are Miraidon EX. And of course, Switch Cart can heal some of the damage off, but it's a pretty simple play. You can always Lost Mine, take the knockout on the Mareep, or on the Flaffy rather, so there's no reason to put extra damage counters on it. And Azul going 3 prize cards, and like we've said, he has so many ways to win this game. He can Lost Mine the Flaffy and then knock out with Dragonite. He can Aqua Storm next turn and take a knockout that way. He can Lost Mine for 3 turns in a row and win that way. It's just, in my mind, I don't see any way that Azul can even lose this game with how well he's positioned his board, how many resources he has left, and more importantly, what Sam is putting together this turn, especially attaching to this Magnezone.
Well,
can't use that V-Star power. You've already used that attack, so
it does have the attack here, Magnetic Grip. It does do 180 damage, and you can find yourself 2 item cards from the deck. And more importantly, again, it has 270 HP. It is going to survive.
Right. So Sam just double attached there. So, did he Dynamotor the second energy?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, so we're good. Sometimes I lose track of what's the hand, what's the discard pile when we get there later. But we are going to see Tandem Unit, so that we'll go ahead and search the deck out for a basic Pokemon. There's going to be another Mareep, so
unfortunately,
I mean, this is a situation where, I mean, if you put more damage counters on the Flaffy, you could potentially have set yourself up for a double knockout, but it's hard to know what your opponent's going to put down here off another tandem unit.
Yeah, I was thinking filling up the bench is a good idea. It does protect you from Echoing Horn, but you technically just put a liability yourself, right? 60 HP Marie seems like a pretty easy knockout as we do retreat into the Magnazone V-Star. Again, Magnetic Grip, not something we get to say too often. Gets to search for 2 cards. I'm curious if any 2 items at all can help him out. I'm sure he'd love something like a Max Potion, potentially. But no, it's just going to be an Ultra Ball there and the Trekking Shoes.
Yeah, the last Electricity Generator is actually in the prize card, so
yes.
that's not an option for Sam. Really going to rely on trying to find this here. He does, luckily, find that off the prize card, so Sam's tied things up for now, but there's a lot that he's got to get through. It mainly starts with how Azul can pivot through the situation. Decided to, interestingly enough, not put any damage counters onto this Magnazone V-Star. I feel like if you at least put damage counters there, your opponent really doesn't have a way to knock out your Dragonite, so you pretty much guarantee yourself a 2-prize knockout as long as they're taking prizes. But Azul just deciding to put the damage counters elsewhere, set up for an Aqua Storm play, and we'll figure this out.
I'm curious. He could potentially just go for the game this turn. It won't be too surprising, right? Looking at Azul's deck, it's actually pretty thin. And looking at his hand is absolutely huge. I want to see here.
He's got here.
No, he's hiding it from us.
Oh, he's got 5 cards in hand? Oh, he can do this for sure. 6 cards. He's got Colress in there as well. Oh, he's got this for sure.
Well, we're going to get to see it. Again, Aqua Storm, such a powerful ability. And, you know, we used to think... We used to have an Aqua Storm drought on stream, right? So it always seemed like something the casters would wish for, and now it's just raining. It's just
raining a lot, and I'm all here. It's a raining. I can't. I was trying to set up some sort of line for it. I can't do it. Anyways, Aqua Storm. The Kyogre's coming down here, so that pretty much tells me that things are about to get a little bit wet. Here we go. Aqua Storm getting in the energy off of that Mirage Gate. Does have Flower selecting as well, so I think as long as he sees something like the Colress there, does have Clara now, so I don't think we've seen concealed cards get used yet, so Clara plus concealed cards can draw 2, and if there's one more pivoting option, then that will pretty much do it here as long as the energies are there. Let's count together. We've got 4, 5 energy in play. Is that actually enough?
There's 3 energy stuck on the Dragonite.
That's the problem here is, yeah, I don't actually know if Azul can managed to put this together. I mean, what he could honestly just do this turn is play Clara, put the Psychic Energy back, and set himself up on a 2-turn clock that way to win the game. So we're just kind of clarifying things up. Azul played the Mirage Gate, just grab a single Watt Energy. So I think, honestly, if you're Azul, you could play fast here and try to play for the win this turn, or you could just play slow and just play a little bit more passive. Your opponent's not really putting on any pressure to win the game next turn. They've still got to take 2 more turns to win, or actually 3 more turns to win the game. So you got a lot of wiggle room.
I feel like as long as Azul gets an attack off this turn, be it Dragon's Gale, be it Lost Mine, he should be able to close this one out.
Yeah, even Dragon's Gale, like you said, putting 250 damage on the Magnazone sets the math up very well. Put 90 on the Flaffy the following turn, and the last 20 to knock this out, and you're pretty much set that way. So we'll see exactly what we've got here. It looks like we're going to see the concealed cards. What's the last card? There's the escape rope, so I think that will do it here. You can escape rope into this Dragonite V, retreat all the energies off, or rather retreat 2 of the energy off because you
can bump the stadium because he does have the Pokestop as well. Let's see if he decides to go for it.
I think it's pretty much guaranteed at this point, as long as, especially even if there's 5 energy, or rather if there's 1 card that's not an energy in deck, as long as you just discard 4 energy, you're doing 200 damage. You're dealing enough to knock out any of these Pokemon. I mean, Sam, pick a Pokemon, bring it up. Doesn't really matter, though. Bringing up the Mareep makes no difference. The Dragonite will go and retreat 2 of the energy off. And here we go. We're going to see the Aqua Storm. It's guaranteed because there's enough damage there. Utilizing Pokestop. Oh, can actually just straight up discard it. So Pokestop discards the card, the attachment for turn, Energy Recycler to bring 5 back, attach 1. That's going to be it.
He's already attached for turn. He does have the Mirage Gate as well. That's the last piece of the puzzle there. And
he's gonna put all the energy back. He's gonna show for us. How many you got there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 250 to 2 bench Pokemon. Azul taking a very convincing game 1.
Absolutely huge here. Aqua Storm, 250 damage. 500 damage turn, no biggie, no biggie. It's just something Lost Box can do at this point. It's funny to think that this is the norm now, you know? But Azul Garcia-Griego showing us why he's an international champion with such a commanding game. He just felt very calm the entire game, don't you think? Just felt everything just fell into place. They got knockouts when they needed it. And I have to think what's going through Sam Salvador's mind here. How can he adjust to take out a giant like Azul Garcia-Griego? It has to be hitting those energies.
Well, that's one piece of it, too. I think it's just so hard here, just in general in this matchup. I mean, Magnezone V-Star, like that V-Star power, being able to at least take 2 prize cards, take a multi-prize turn, it's so important in this matchup to try to keep pace. If you don't have access to that, sure, you can get these turn 1 knockouts going second, but even then, you saw Azul was just able to keep pace, keep calm, had multiple turns to set Dragonite up. And the problem, too, is even once you start taking prizes, how do you deal with Dragonite? Sam didn't even have an answer to dealing with Dragonite if it came up. He show if it existed. So that's sort of the issue in my mind.
He could knock with Raichu or potentially Ampharos EX.
Yeah,
he has options.
It's hard, though. We didn't even talk about Ampharos EX. That's a card that I believe became legal this week because it came out in a battle starter deck as a promo. Of course, Thunderstrike Tail, 140 damage, and you decide to discard all your lightning energy. You're hitting for 240, and that's enough to knock out Dragonite V.
Yeah, Dragonite only has 230 HP. That could be, that could be the very, very first Ampharos EX knockout on stream. For very first Thunderstrike Tail. How cool would that be?
Listen, I'd be happy. Any first is a good first for me. I'm always happy to see some new firsts on stream. So see what Sam's got on the prize cards. Hopefully nothing too detrimental. Of course, not too many of those lightning energy were hiding out last time.
Something of note, that Raikou.
Dude, what is with me caster cursing today?
What?
Said there weren't a lot of energy last time, but looks like a third of them decided to show up in the prize cards this time.
You know what? As long as he hits something off the electromagnetic generator, as long as he hits one, at least those can stay in the prizes. But one Raikou V on the prizes as well. He only plays one, so his easy attacker is prize.
That's bad as well.
He has to attack with something like the Magnezone or the Miraidon. Something of note, the Magnetic Tension actually is a pretty good attack since you get to pick one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, bring it to the active, and hit 40 for. You can knock out a Manaphy that way for weakness. Looking at Azul's prizes there, Sableye, Energy Recycler, Chorus, things you play multiple copies of. Forest Seal Stone, yeah, not too bad. And you should be able to see those prizes, those resources eventually.
Sam actually opted to go second this game, so really a testament to how much he values taking prize cards, or rather attacking before Azul does, even if it's as simple as taking a hit with Raikou. But that Raikou being prize could be a make or break situation for going second. I feel like if you know that card is prize, like if you could see your prize cards first and then choose, right? I feel like not having Raikou is such a big deal, especially when you're trying to attack before your opponent can.
I mean, if you could attach the energies per turn, that's fine. It's something this deck can do, right? With 4 electromagnetic generator. It's not an impossibility. And again, you can attack with the magnetic tension. There are options, but your best option is prize. That's sad for sure. Azul Garcia-Griego looks like it does start with the Cramorant, not the most ideal, and does get a Sableye. I believe that was off the Hisuian Heavy Ball. I would have loved to see Sam just pile shuffle Azul's prizes there.
We
just
saw
like we saw
it earlier,
right?
Yeah. We did see it happen early. Listen, the pile shuffling propaganda, it's too early for this, man. I can't do it right now.
All right, we do. Again, Cramorant in the active. Azul does have something like a Nest Ball to try and get a Comfey at the very least. Should be at least.
So this is an interesting discussion here because you could grab Comfey, but you could also grab a Radiant Greninja out of your deck. I think the issue here, though, is they both kind of do the same thing at this point. The only issue is if you end up not finding anything off the Radiant Greninja, it's not going to provide as much value as the Comfey would provide. So Azul smartly grabbing this, but it's always a risk, right? If you find something like, if you like flower selecting and then your 2 options are like Radiant Greninja and Chorus, right? It's like, well, now what do I take, right? I want both of these options. I could have just had this in play at one point.
But yeah, there we go. Paying the water energy for the retreat. Goes for the flower selecting.
We spin the wheel? I think we might be spinning the wheel here, maybe?
Yeah, sending the energy recycler there to the lost zone.
Right, let's go. Let's spin the wheel together. That's an item. That's
all right.
Item.
And essentially draw 2. Not too bad. Sending Comfey to the discard pile. I'm sure that's something Azul would want. And hey, if Sam could knock out this one Comfey, that leaves Azul without Comfey-less.
What are your options here to attack with, though? That's the real question. I mean, of course, if you hit multiple energy, you can utilize more Ride-On EX. You have Magnezone V, which for 3 energy does 90 damage and 20 to 2 bench Pokemon as
hey,
well.
that's actually pretty good too.
Listen, it's crazy we went from Darkrai EX having almost the same attack now to Magnezone having a very similar attack, man. The world keeps going around, you know how it is.
Well, it's called Night Spear.
Yeah, Night Spear.
Good times, good times. I think we need to play that next format.
Well,
I think
they played some Darkrai at some point. I think we played 2013 a few regionals back. So, listen, people, if you want it, let us know, man. We'll bring some more 2013 out for the people. If the people want it, man, that's all I'm saying. We're here to provide.
Let us know. Let us know. Vote Darkrai on Twitter right now. Let's do it. All right. Looks like Tandem Unit being played now. Grabbing the Magnezone, and Sam should be up for a very bad surprise for sure. Knowing now that his Raikou should be prized here. Grabbing a second Miraidon. Looks like really just filling up the bench here.
Yeah, I have to wonder what Pokemon you even grab off of this. Do you even grab a Miraidon in this situation? What do you really value off the second Tandem Unit? Otherwise, you're just kind of filling your bench with extra Miraidon. I mean, Sam didn't attack with a single one last turn. It just feels like one of these spots you'd rather have for Raichu, which can deal with the Dragonite. You could save spots for that Manaphy eventually down the line as well, but a lot of times it doesn't even matter. There's so many interesting inclusions in this deck. We talked about Ampharos being so interesting. Luminion is a card we usually never see in this deck as well.
He even plays Drapion for something like the Mew.
It's true. Yeah, Drapion V in here as well.
A lot of interesting things, but sometimes interesting doesn't get you those wins. It's consistency and skill, and that's just what Lost Box really provides, right? Very consistent deck.
It's so interesting. It's like two different sides of the coin, right? It's like Miraidon, a deck that feels very linear in its time. It's just always drawing cards. It just wants to get energy into play, and then this completely complex deck.
Real quick, looks like that was Trekking Shoes.
So it's
debating between Arvin.
I think keeping it is not terrible. You can at least get yourself an electricity generator and try to take some knockouts, but really valuing just not having it here and just going to dig more Trekking Shoes and has 2 copies of that Flaffy. It's so interesting that there's such a thick Flaffy line in this deck, playing 3 copies of it, but we're just going to get rid of them. We don't need these here, I guess. We're just going to find some more Pokemon out of the deck. It looks like maybe that Manaphy and really valuing just having that bench protection, especially with the setup that Sam is going for, trying to get down double Flaffy. But speaking of double Flaffy, there are now double Flaffy in the discard pile instead of in play.
That's pretty bad if that's your main way to get energy into play. Not only do you not get to accelerate energy, you don't get to evolve these Mareeps. These Mareeps only have 60 HP. Are we going to see just a big research here?
I think I maybe spin the wheel there to see if I find an electricity generator, because at least I have the pivoting option afterwards. But I mean, if you're in Sam's position, I feel like I always just like spin the wheel here. Like it's so worth it though. I mean, here's the interesting choices now. So try to think about how you sequence this through. You've got Trekking Shoes, electricity generator, and Pokestop. So Pokestop's sort of like an independent variable because it's going to be a discard 3, and your odds are going to be like whatever they are when they happen, right? So here's Trekking Shoes played. Does find the energy attachment, so
would have hit one. Would have hit it if he played it.
I feel like you kind of just send it here. Just play her like, we're going for Pokestop first.
All right,
this is where all the lightning energy are going to be.
No,
watched.
don't.
Okay.
There's just one. There's just one, but there's a lot.
Yeah, but got rid of the Magnezone V-Star. The one copy of it is now gone. One of the most powerful options in this matchup.
That is true. Here we go, electromagnetic generator. At least get an energy here, please. There's one.
Gets one.
But you need
but where does it go, right? Miraidon's really not a great attacker to this. You're doing more than enough damage to knock out Cramorant. And, of course, with that Photon Blaster, you can't attack the following turn. So it sort of doesn't feel like a great scenario to be attacking with. But you've got rid of so many resources. You got rid of your Magnezone. Your Raikous and the prize cards, it feels like you're kind of just running out of options to attack with. You got to go with your best option.
I think we have to worry about right now, though. Yes, you can't attack next turn with Photon Blaster, but right now there's only one energy attached to that Miraidon. I don't think there's another Electro Generator in hand, and of course you can't evolve those Mareeps on the first turn. Sam here deciding to go second might be a little bit punished for sure, because again, if he opted to go first, would have the opportunity to evolve these Mareeps. As we pass over to Azul, who still has that Conflict active, only has 1 card in the Lost Zone so far, but has access to the Pokestop, the Chorus Experiment, should hit at least 4. So I fully expect Azul to at least take 1 prize here.
Azul's doing some inspecting right now. He's saying, what does this Magnezone V do? I'm sure this is his first one of the day. Not a lot of people are playing this card, but as you said, Chorus Experiment, setting the board up. 5 cards. What are the options to work with?
Easy choices
find
here.
That Radiant Greninja. I'm sure that will get kept. Battle VIP Pass is an easy choice, and I think the Pokestop will join it in the Lost Zone. Excellent setup here for Azul. Guaranteed hit with Cramorant, can take the knockout onto Mareep. There's an easy extra prize being able to get taken as well. Has the ability to draw cards with concealed cards, finds more pivoting cards. Doesn't have another Comfey though. It feels like the only thing that's missing here for Azul's setup.
Let's see if he can draw another. There it is. You just
but it's so
losing
tough.
to Dragonite.
I don't think you can afford to get rid of Dragonite in this position. It's so weird because, I mean, if Sam continues to just fill the bench up like he's been doing this entire game, then yeah, you can get rid of this Dragonite because the Raikou Lightning Rondo attack can do 220 if the bench is filled. But I think Azul might just be taking that gamble to see, listen, I didn't even need to really attack with Dragonite the following turn. Like, it didn't really need to super matter in that last game. If I can just set up the Kyogre play like I did last time, I have the option for Raikou to still take knockouts. I should be okay in this position.
How funny would that be, Azul just saying, you know what, hey, I'm the Lightning deck now. I have the Raikou, yours is prize, but yeah, it looks like it was just an escape rope there onto the Comfey.
The difference between the two, right? It's like, listen, you got to hit your electricity generators. Mine are guaranteed.
I believe the energy should be... Oh, no, was that Switch Card played?
Yeah, Switch Card was played. So Switch Card was played, and Azul's just prepping that energy for next turn, putting it on Comfey, saying, listen, if you judge me, if you have anything up your sleeve, I've got a free pivot. I'm going to be able to attack next turn. Especially with 5 cards in the Lost Zone, it means 2 flower selectings will open up something like Mirage Gate to set some math up. Solid spot again for Azul. Azul striking first and taking the first prize now in Game 2.
All right, let's see what Sam has in store for us. Looks like he did opt to play try to use Tandem Unit, opting to fail it though, leaving that one bench space open. Let's see if they have anything. They do have the energy for turn, so we should see a Photon Blaster for 440 damage because Cramorant is weak to lightning.
Big damage, but it's still one prize card. It doesn't matter how much you do to that poor Cramorant. The poor bird it's going to give up one prize at the end of the day. Dynamotor is still available, so did find the 3rd copy of Flaffy. That's the only one in the deck. Where do you put this energy card? I think putting on the other Miraidon seems okay. Magnezone not a terrible attacker into these low HP Pokemon like Sableye and Cramorant. You can always set math up as well. The bench damage really isn't too relevant, but it's a nice option to have. But now that your Magnezone V-Star is gone, it feels like that Pokemon's just sitting here not doing much.
For sure. A little bit, again, Pokestop, giveth, Pokestop taketh away. Something, again, would maybe the correct answer there was to just attach the energy to the Flaffy and an evolved Ampharos EX just to flex on us a little bit.
You could have that option. Of course, you can at least deal consistent damage. 140 for 3 is not too bad. But of course, you do shut off that Dynamotor ability when you evolve, so it's something you've got to really consider. But Sam's responding, taking the prize card back, and interestingly enough, we'll see this Comfey come up into the active without an energy card. So this probably signals that Azul's got some kind of either plethora of switching cards, Colress Experiment we see, lots of ways to continue going and hopefully start to take some more prize cards or at least put some more pressure on the board.
Again, just a master class of Lost Box here. I feel like everything is just going Azul's way. Does play the Colress Experiment, gets a couple of cards. I see the Celebrations Kyogre. That should definitely be staying in the hand. A couple of energies as well.
Yeah, Nest Ball seems like the easy choice to get rid of the Lost Zone. I think you can keep the Forest Seal Stone. I think Lightning Energy can go to the Lost Zone. It seems pretty okay to me. Interestingly enough, going to keep the Nest Ball. Maybe just wanting to have a way to find Raikou this turn. Sam actually smartly decided to not bench, like I was saying, not bench that Pokemon. Play out of Raikou range. Make sure this Miraidon will not get knocked out. But if you're still putting damage on, if your opponent's still forced to find switching cards, it can get a little tough. But it seems like Azul is all in on this strategy. 7 cards in the Lost Zone now. Can use 3 flower selectings and maybe try to put a Lost Mine play together.
Let's see how many switches, how many pivots they have to work with. And more importantly, look at that deck. Just really going through it here. Hasn't even used the Pokestop just yet. And that hand is absolutely huge too. Do they have there's a switch card. There's one switch card.
One switch card
a
has
retreat.
The energy card. And then I think that's it. So I think Azul is really going to be reliant off of finding a switch card. It does still have access to Pokestop to utilize. So there's lots of ways to dig through the deck. I think Azul starting with Pokestop is not bad if you still think you've got a lot of switching card options in the deck. And look at that, 3 item cards. Azul's got all 4 Mirage Gate in the hand now. Can play this Nest Ball, grab out another copy of Sableye. And it seems like Azul is very content utilizing this Kyogre strategy to finish this game out. May just be seeing a repeat of Game 1, deja vu, but hey, if it's winning for you, I'm all for it.
For sure. I like the Nest Ball play there. Getting the Sableye out of the deck means you can't send it to the Lost Zone, as we do see one of many flower selectings, I'm sure. And here we go. Do we find... All he needs here is technically a switching card. Does find the Raikou. Nest Ball should hit the Lost Zone there. Again,
yeah, I think the question here for Azul, too, is like, even if
he
you
has
don't hit it this
2.
turn. Oh, he has 2 switch cards?
Yeah,
okay,
he's fine.
He said that. Yep, more flower selecting fun and more easy choices here with Battle Pass hitting the Lost Zone.
Now, if Lost Box played like this every single time, I'd love to play this deck. But that one, okay, that one became a tough choice.
I think you can get rid of Recycler. You haven't gotten rid of any Recycler so far. One of the things you got to make sure is you don't get rid of too many energy cards, so you have the total amount of resources. So I think Azul can afford to get rid of this one. It's just.
I think he sent one earlier.
Oh, did he send one earlier? Yeah, it might be a little bit tough. Are there any in the prize cards? There is actually one in the prize cards, so Azul won't have that option. So smartly just deciding to save it, making sure, hey, even if I don't take it, even if it's one of my last 3 or 4 prize cards, I'll still have that option.
Yeah, there we go. Again, 10 cards in the Lost Zone means we're mining, and Azul Garcia-Griego is going for gold here. Let's see what he decides to knock out.
I think it's just going to be Mana Feed 2/2 and put a counter on the Magna Zone as well. Pretty much just making sure there are 3 Pokemon in play with 200 HP so that if you play Escape Rope, it doesn't matter what Pokemon's on the active, there will be 2 Pokemon on the bench that have 200 HP left that could be knocked out from an Aqua Storm.
How intimidating is this? Azul can win next turn while Sam still has to take 5 prizes.
It's absurd.
The
Sam
power.
has the attachment and does have Escape Rope in hand, but the Escape Rope feels so bad. I think you can actually afford to Beach Court here since you don't want to give your opponent essentially a free Comfey to just bring up into the active and get knocked out.
That is true.
You really want to... Oh, we're going for Pokestop. We're spinning the wheel.
Oh, there's the electric generator.
Just get rid of boss, but I mean, I feel like it's worth it to get the electricity generator.
But we have so much energy in play. What else do we need to do here?
That's the question, right? This is sort of the issue with Miraidon is it can only do so much. It can't really find room to outplay and set up tricky endgame scenarios. Does finally hit 2, so look at it happened eventually.
Better
can put the 2
late
energy
than
potentially
never.
on this Flaffy. And I mean, again, it's just so tough here for Sam. How, in your mind, do you route through a way? How do you expect your opponent to not have a way to take 3 prize cards in 5 turns when they can spread 12 damage counters anywhere, when they can use their big V Pokemon that they still have in play? Your opponent has Raikou left in place. That's still an option. And very much so has Kyogre as well. And now your Mana Fee is gone.
Yeah, it just feels like Lost Box to do it all at this point. Something Sam does have access to potentially is the Collapse Stadium. That's always been a way to eliminate a Pokemon from the board as something that seems like a liability, but how do you fill up your bench, right? You'd have to play Mareeves potentially, or even more multi-prize Pokemon, as we do see the bump there on the Pokestop, putting down the Beach Court, giving Miraidon free retreat. It's just Miraidon into another Miraidon, and it should be another Photon Blaster for another knockout.
There's only 1 switch card in this deck, so Sam, I believe, has no way, because he discarded that turn 1 with that Professor's Research, has no way to heal off any of these Miraidon, so it's pretty much hope. I think at this point, it's pretty much hope my opponent somehow messes up along the lines. They can't get Aqua Storm off, and if that's not the case, then
oh boy. Hoping Azul messes up? I doubt it.
That's the problem, right? I wouldn't put my money on that horse. I wouldn't bet on that horse by any means.
All right, again, let's see how many cards they have. Again, Azul can win this turn. The deck looking pretty thin. Has three Comfey to work with, 3 potential flower selecting, still has Colress potentially in hand.
That hand
everything.
Is massive.
Everything they want in the hand, potentially.
So, I mean, Azul, I think, is just calculating how many resources are left, how many energy can I get in the discard pile. Let's see if we can take a look together. I believe there's 5 energy right now. Can discard a 6. If the energies are there, he can actually just commit to Kyogre this turn, and Azul's got very good information. Just saw his prize cards, knows his discard pile, and there is a Psychic Energy in the deck, but that's it. Can, of course, Energy Recycler at some point to put the second energy back. I mean, there's 4 Mirage.
Yeah.
He can. He's doing whatever he can at this point. I couldn't see exactly how many cards were left. It does have Colress Experiment, and more importantly, has the concealed cards that can discard 1 of the Water Energy.
Draws into a Colress, but I'm pretty sure he had one in hand. Hasn't attached yet for turn. I think he played the Psychic Energy just to make sure he doesn't send it to the Lost Zone.
And this is guaranteed here now. So let's see if he's got it there. Mana Feed, Lost Vacuum going away. And as long as there's 4 energy left in the deck, or 4 energy left in the discard pile, or 5 energy rather, because he needs 1 more to put onto this Kyogre. That's going to be it. Let's count together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, there's plenty. 6 energy here. Put 5 back. Use Mirage Gate. Put a single one on there, and you can tell. Sam understands. Things are over here. Azul has got a wrap on this game. Beach Court to retreat. put the 5th energy back in, and that's a full Aqua Storm, 250 damage. A clean 2-0 here for Azul, advancing to 6-1.
Just an absolute clinic here from Azul GG, Azul Garcia-Griego again, really showing us why he deserves to be an international champion, why he deserves to be one of the best players we have right now in the Pokemon trading card game, to be honest. And
yeah, wow. It's so hard for Miraidon to really deal with Kyogre. I feel like even with the Manaphy, right, you saw it, it is where Kyogre shines the most because there's so many low HP, 2 prize Pokemon. You have so much time to put together. I mean, Azul won that game when his opponent was on 4 prize cards, right? He had a 4-turn window to pull that combo off.
Had time.
He was still able to navigate through, thin the deck out perfectly, get to 0 cards, figure out how things go. So Azul showing us true and tried true, works well. I mean, you have to also take into consideration this deck that they have been playing